Hi guys, and welcome back to I'll Read What She's Reading. I'm Mikayla.
I'm Reggie.
And I'm Kennedy.
And today we're going to be talking about the Magnolia Park series.
Our current obsession.
And honestly, this episode has come, I feel like we've gotten a few messages from people asking us to do this episode.
We've been asking, and we're here to deliver. Just kidding.
Yes. So, disclaimer. Yeah, if you haven't read the whole series, we're here to give like our overall ratings. Just share some non-spoilery thoughts about the series so you can still be part of this and then come back to it once you've finished the series and need someone to talk to about all the spoilery things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, sorry guys, I am not on my A game today.
That's
Should
okay.
we-
I'm going to the...
Should we kick it off by ranking the series as a whole?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We won't give any spoilers. We'll just give our overall.
Yeah. I'm going to say 4 stars.
Me too.
I'm going to say 5.
Yes. I saw it coming.
It's like, okay, I was trying to think about this as I was going to bed last night because I knew we were recording this episode. I was trying to think about how I could put my thoughts into the series without really it being spoilery. And the only thing I could really think of is I love Throne of Glass. Okay? Love it. But the way Mikayla feels about Throne of Glass is the way I feel about Magnolia Parks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, these characters and this story just speaks to my soul in a way. I don't know if it's because I can relate to some of the things that happen to them and just I can see myself in these characters. But that's the only way I could think about it. If you guys have listened to our podcast for a while, Mikayla, I mean, you know how much Mikayla loves Throne of Glass, how much we all love it. But Mikayla loves it more than anyone, any of the three of us. So
More than anyone I know. So,
that's the only way I could think about it. So 5 stars for me.
No, it's good. It's, to me, it's just a little repetitive at some parts. And sometimes I just get bugged
Yeah.
by the immaturity of the characters.
Like the lack of
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a very common opinion that most people do have.
Mm-hmm.
before we kind of get into that, should we give like a brief description of, I'm trying to think, maybe like the first Magnolia Parks and first Daisy Hates book. So if anyone listening is not familiar at all, I know we've talked about it on the podcast. I mean, I guess the short version would just be that
Gossip
it's
Girl.
just
I'm just kidding.
no. I feel like the short summary would be high society London socialites
Mm-hmm.
with lots of drama.
Mm-hmm.
The Daisy Hates books are a little more gang lord stuff kind of going on.
Yeah, illegal
Romance,
activity.
yeah.
Well, we could also say that Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates actually happen at the same time. They're just two separate books. You just get different perspectives. In each book, Daisy Hates and Magnolia Parks, they're like mentioned. They briefly like see each other.
Cross paths.
Yeah, cross paths, which is kind of fun. I've even heard of like people doing tandem reading. None of us did that, but I could see the appeal to it. But yeah, that's kind of like the fun part. So like if one of the characters pops up and they like disappear and you're like, what the heck just happened? If you read Daisy Hates or vice versa, Magnolia Parks, you kind of get like the inside on why someone stormed off, or like you just get like it's a fun dynamic between all these characters.
Yeah, it's really fun going from like Magnolia Parks and then picking up Daisy Hates, because you kind of get to connect the dots of things that you missed from the previous book. So that's one thing I really enjoyed about going. It was kind of hard to like finish a Magnolia Parks and then go into Daisy Hates, because I'm like, okay, well, I want to see what happens in the next Magnolia Parks. But I feel like Jessa has like a cool way of kind of seamlessly putting it together that makes it worthwhile.
You do get a little bit more. It's not the exact same story repeated from different perspectives, because obviously there's things that are going on in Magnolia's life that aren't going on in Daisy's life and vice versa. So you do get more information and new plot lines between the two. But it definitely is a little repetitive for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're long books.
They are long.
I mean, how many pages are they? Because Mikayla and I listened to them.
I would say they're on average 550, 600 pages. They're pretty long. I think the last one is 750. They're pretty long. I saw someone on TikTok kind of describe the Magnolia Park series as kind of showing the human condition and showing development from people, if that makes sense. Like, it's a very, from where you start off with the characters to where you end off in the series, I feel like you see a lot of character growth. But if you're not interested in hearing about reading about the human condition and just a life in general, it might not be the series for you, just because it is a little bit more repetitive and there's not a lot of plot. But if you make it through the first book, which I think is people's biggest hurdle, is the first book, I do think the series gets better.
Oh, for sure. I think I rated the first book like 3 stars.
Same.
And then I think from there on out, my rating just got higher and higher. So.
And Reggie and I both listened to the books, like Reggie said. And I think we really enjoyed it because they have a different voice actor for each character. And their voices are just really fun. They're really
so fun. We were showing Kennedy, like, specifically Christian's audio.
I was dying.
Love him.
I love him.
I can't listen to all of that. Like, I found that with Daisy and Magnolia, I can listen to them on like 2 times speed sometimes. But like BJ, Christian, Julian, I always had to slow theirs down.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, wait, what are they saying?
Yeah.
But it's so fun.
Yeah. Sometimes their accents were a little thick and I was like, wait, what word just came out of your mouth? But I really enjoyed getting those different voices. They're just so fun.
Well, and there's a lot of emotion. Like, these books are like poetry to me. And so to hear it spoken in the voices that they are, it's just unlike anything I have experienced listening to an audiobook. It just gives, there's just something about it that just gives a little more than anything else.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel like the voice actors did a good job portraying the emotions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because sometimes you get voice actors who literally just read it.
Yeah. No, I feel like they did a really good job. Like, they had like the perfect amount of pauses in like certain stuff, you know, or like, you know, and almost like an annoyed voice or like an angry voice, but it was never like, I don't know how they do it, but it was never like a risen voice, or it was never like ever quiet, but they just, I don't know, they're very talented.
There's something specific about the way BJ, and I think it's mostly BJ, he kind of has this like whisper to his voice when he's talking at times. Like, there's a lot of inflection, or not, what's the word I'm looking for? I just feel like, I don't know, I just felt like I could almost see his face the way that he would, I don't know, it was very well done. We will have to post a TikTok of some
Christian's
of our favorite
audio
quotes. It's so fun.
But on the flip side, because I did read them, what I loved about reading them is I got to take pictures of all the insane things that Jessa writes, because it is extremely poetic, and the way she describes emotions, or just the way these I can't even describe it if you haven't read this book, but that to me is what makes it so special, is the way that she writes. Had Jessa not written it and been so poetic in the way that she wrote, I don't think I would have liked this series, and it wouldn't have been as big of a payoff.
Yeah.
Which I swear, Mikayla, in one of your reviews, didn't you say something about
about her being the modern time Shakespeare? Yeah.
Which, hey, I agree. Other people would probably scream at us and tell us we're idiots.
Oh, it was more so
Yes,
a joke, but
yes.
like I haven't read anything Shakespeare, and so I really can't. But from what I've heard from Shakespeare, I think it is comparable for the way she writes feelings and, love.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also
heartbreak, all the things,
Yeah. Even I loved listening to them, but the second I finished the last book, I was like, I need the physical copy of all of these books right now, and I need to reread them and highlight things. And that is not something that ever happens to me really when I finish an audiobook.
Yeah.
I would tab the heck out of these books, I think. Just for the fact there's so many little quotes that I think are special. There's very few series that I would go back and tab. This is one of them, along with obviously some others. But I guess my question to you guys, this is also still not spoilery, and I think I know. I don't know what Reggie's gonna say, but I think I know what Mikayla's gonna say. Did you prefer Magnolia's books or Daisy's books?
I prefer Daisy's books.
That's what I thought you would say.
I still appreciate Magnolia's books, but I am just more interested in Daisy's POV.
I mean, those 3 POVs you get in her perspective, they're all so good. Magnolia can be annoying at times, for sure.
I can't say anything because I don't want to spoil.
Yeah.
So I'll wait.
I felt like I came to appreciate Magnolia and liked her a lot more from Daisy's point of view.
Same.
I would say Daisy's books are I enjoyed those better, but I do think the last book is my favorite book, Into the Dark. But there's just, I think the like criminal, like gang lord, all that kind of stuff element to the Daisy Hates books made it more fun for me to listen to. But yeah, I'd say I'd prefer Daisy's. Like, I'm very excited for the next book.
Oh, me too.
Who knows when it's coming out? It might be a really long time, but yeah,
I'm very excited for that. I would say I like Magnolia's better, and it's not even the content wise, because this is a unique experience you get if you read the books rather than listen to them. In Daisy's books, it's almost, you guys know how you're reading a scholarly article and there's works cited in the article. So you're reading this article and then at the end of the sentence, there's a tiny little number, a 1, a 2, whatever. Yeah, a footnote. So in Daisy's chapters, there are footnotes. So as you're reading through the chapter, you get to the end of the sentence and then it has a number and you have to go to the bottom of the page and read the footnote and then go back up to where you were. I hated that. It kind of interrupted my reading experience because I was having to go up and down the page so much. But had I listened to them, I think it would have been a lot more of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I feel like that would bug me too.
It was horrible.
Yeah. I'd say maybe if you're having a hard time deciding if you want to physically read them or listen to them, maybe try reading Magnolia Parks, the first one, and listening to Daisy Hates. I would maybe recommend that because then you kind of get a feel for which one you'd like better. And like I said, I felt like each book got better and better. I think that might give you a good feel for how you'd want to continue with the other 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree.
No,
but
I think that's
absolutely
great.
agree. I think that's fantastic. Well, should we get into spoilers?
yeah.
Okay.
So those of you who haven't finished the series, come back once you have finished because there's going to be full-on spoilers for the entire series up to obviously Magnolia Parks Into the Dark because that's the last book that was written. Come back and we'd love to.
Some of you were wanting us to do it by book, and it was just going to be way too hard for us to remember specifically okay, at the end of this book this happens. Yeah. I feel like it's a lot easier to talk about it as a whole. So maybe where shall we begin?
Let's start off. Let's say what book was our favorite and maybe why.
Okay.
I can go first if you guys
Yeah,
need a
you
second
go
to
first.
think. Okay. For me, I think my favorite was probably Into the Dark. And I could go on, and I'll try to condense my thoughts because it's hard for me to put into words what this book means to me, because I saw so many parallels in my life in this book. Not necessarily because my sister had passed away and I had this relationship with this guy, but because I saw myself in Bridget and I saw my sister in Magnolia. And so to see Magnolia go through the grief process over Bridget was this weird cathartic thing, because I almost felt like I was seeing my sister go through that. And if you've listened to our podcast before, you know that I have some daddy issues. And so that underlying theme also played into my heart a lot. And I just really loved watching BJ help Magnolia through her grief process. And I don't think this is a hot take. I'm sure these two would agree, because at the end of Daisy Hates, what's the second Daisy Hates book?
The Great Undoing.
The Great Undoing. I wanted Magnolia and Julian to be together so badly, but after reading Into the Dark, I don't think anybody could have helped Magnolia through her grief the same way that BJ did. There's nobody else that could have done that. Julian I love, but he just couldn't have done that for her. And so I just think overall it was this culmination of all of this character development, and you see Magnolia go through all this, and finally they go to therapy, and finally they get married, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, the wedding eventually. It just was my favorite, and I cried so much, and I was so sad when it ended, because it was like I was saying goodbye to these friends, because we're not getting another book from their perspective. So that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one was probably my favorite too. I think as a whole, I maybe enjoyed the fourth one. I can't remember, The Great Undoing.
Mm-hmm.
Most, because I felt like there was a lot more going on in a sense. But for me, I just felt like there were a lot of relatable things said in the last book that really just hit home with me a little bit more. And I would say I really like how Jessa tied everything together with Magnolia and BJ at the end, because I also was getting the vibe. I wasn't like super set on her being with Julian, but I feel as if, like you were saying, she needed BJ. Like, Julian just did not know her like BJ knew her. And so I was worried that I was going to have a hard time with her ending up with BJ. But I just feel like everything played out so perfectly. I wasn't upset about it in the slightest. So, yeah.
I think my favorite book was the Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. That's the only one that I've rated 5 stars, but I do really appreciate Into the Dark, and I just yeah, and I thought it was very cute. I loved everything, how it ended and stuff like that. I'm just a person who needs a little bit more entertainment with their books, and I just feel like The Great Undoing was just, and also I just love Julian so much. Like,
How'd you feel about the kiss scene?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
yeah.
I am desperately needing his point of view from Into the Dark. I don't know. I just love him, and I just want him to be happy. You know,
Me too.
Yeah. I feel like he just deserves like a love, and it makes me so sad that he did love Magnolia, because that just like sucks, because obviously I knew they really weren't going to be together, like Julian and Magnolia, but I just the way he just described her, and like I loved Magnolia through Julian's eyes more than I loved Magnolia through BJ's eyes.
I could see that. Yeah.
And I think it's just because there was like this like beef between Magnolia and BJ for so long, and there was never like that beef between Julian and Magnolia, obviously, until the last book. But Magnolia drove me crazy. She drove me crazy. I did not like her POVs. I just thought they were very shallow. But I loved her through the eyes of everyone else, if that makes sense. Like, I loved her through the eyes of Daisy, and I loved her through the eyes of Julian, just like so much more. And I don't know why.
I feel like she seems more quippy and sassy through their perspectives.
Well, I feel like it just like shows how much, I don't know, I guess it's just like the draw of Magnolia through everyone else's eyes, rather than like the draw from herself, because I don't think she like sees herself that way, if that makes sense. Like, I know she's really confident, but I feel like just having those inner thoughts was just a lot for me when it came to her character. And also, like, BJ just like was just a mopey son of a bitch. Just kidding. Yeah. I don't know, but I don't know, I just have this like thing for Julian. I don't know what it is. And I also just really love the aspect of like Daisy and Christian being like this forbidden love. Like, it's really dangerous. It's just a dangerous circumstance to be in love. And same with anyone that Julian falls in love with. It's just a dangerous thing. And I don't know, I just like was on my toes and giddy about it. But I do also really appreciate Into the Dark.
Yeah.
I think you go.
Well, I was just gonna say that I did not like BJ until the very last book.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that with everything we went through that whole series, the fact that by the end of that book, I was falling for BJ so hard that last book. I just love that she could do that in her writing. But with Julian, I think the reason why maybe we loved Julian so much is because BJ was kind of an insufferable character for a while.
Yeah.
And it was just it was harder to love him. And so it was a lot easier to love Julian. But I really like how she kind of did that on purpose, I think.
I think she probably did too.
I think so too.
And I feel like that's something I can really appreciate. So, yeah.
I think another reason why it's a very common thing for everybody to love Julian. At one point, Jessa was so annoyed with people. She did a question box on her Instagram, and she basically said, "You guys shut up about Julian. I could kill him at any point." Yeah. She loved Magnolia and BJ, so it doesn't surprise me that they ended up together. But I think a lot of the reason why a lot of people love Julian is, and maybe you guys disagree, I love a guy who is extremely a guy character who is extremely, I can't think of a better way to describe this, but hard, but he's really soft for one person. And that one person is Magnolia and also Daisy. So he's this really hardcore gang lord to everybody else, and everybody's intimidated by him, but deep down he's a softie for the women he loves. And that's just, it's so good.
It's a very character driven book.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And I wonder if I would, no, I actually don't think I would like the first book, even if I went back and read it. I just really did not like BJ. I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all.
Well, especially the first book, they're so insufferable and annoying. Yeah. I had never read a book where I wanted to punch everybody I hated everybody. Yeah. It was a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster of a series. Do you guys have, I guess my next question for you guys is, was there a book ending out of, probably not the last book, but what book ending surprised you the most? Do you guys have any that you were surprised? Like, I guess you could say, we'll go through all of them. Did you guys know that it was Paley that BJ cheated with?
I originally thought it was Bridget.
I did too.
So did I.
I don't know why.
So, but I guess I wasn't surprised that it was someone close to her. I didn't really think Paley in my brain. My first thought was Bridget, but then when it was Paley, I was like, oh, I'm not surprised. But
I think the book that like kind of surprised me the most was just when the thing is like we already knew everything that happened, but I think the great undoing in Julian's point of view when Magnolia got into the car crash. I think that just like I knew it was happening, but I feel like it was just like,
well, you knew it was coming.
And
You knew you were gonna get his perspective.
I knew I was gonna get it, but then they just like had to, you know, Daisy got ripped from Christian, and he was like trying to chase after her, and like Julian's like, no, we have to go, and I was like, what the freak is going on? I just want to know. And the thing is we don't know anything.
We still don't know.
We still don't know.
We're still in the dark.
Which, okay, this is so random. I think the chick that was following Magnolia around, I think Julian hired her.
He's
like as a bodyguard.
Oh, yes.
It was her assistant or whatever. I think Julian
hired her.
Yeah, I think she's a bodyguard.
That would make sense. I thought that she was going to be the love interest for Julian.
Maybe.
And the only reason I say that is because they're very similar in the fact that they're very into their jobs. And so I feel like, you know, like it's just their job is their life. And so I feel like, I don't know why that would just be like a good fit. Because then I feel like they would learn together that the job doesn't have to be everything. And like you can still like love and have a personal life. I don't know. That's just where my mind was going with her. But I don't think she ever described her. I don't know if she's like pretty.
I don't remember her description either.
I don't know.
I didn't put that much thought into it, but I like that idea.
But to go back to what you were saying, I agree. I think that was my favorite ending out of all of the books is The Great Undoing. Yeah. Because it was just so...
I was like, what?
It was a roller coaster.
What? What's going on? I don't know.
Ripped my heart out.
Yeah. I mean...
Screaming, crying.
I really did love the ending of The Great Undoing. And... You know...
Do you mean Into the Dark?
I mean Into the Dark. Yes. Yeah. That one. You know, I love a good wedding. It rarely happens. So...
And we got all the details. That's what I loved.
Yeah.
It was like, let's talk about the dress. Let's talk about the location. There was so much that she gave us. Well, and I was so grateful.
I feel like these authors have the power to write these beautiful vows, and they just say like, the prologue is like 5 years later we're married and we're happy and we have a child on the way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you literally have the ability to write, and Jessa provided. She delivered.
She more than delivered. I don't know.
Was the most beautiful writing I've ever heard.
I'll never get vows like that again.
No.
Never. I was wiping down my kitchen counter. I was just like cleaning my kitchen, and I was listening to it. And I literally remember like dropping the rag on the counter and leaning forward, and my counter was still like wet. And I just like leaned forward and I just sat there and literally cried onto my countertop. And it was so great.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments, like there's certain moments when you're reading that you'll just never forget where you were and what you were doing. That was one of those moments for me. I will never forget. I also like was skipping things back to hear it a second time, which I don't really do. It's only if I'm like, wait, what did they say? But I literally like went back and was like, I need to listen to these vows again.
Oh, I think the other thing that I loved about their wedding was, not to harp on Bridget, I just thought that the fact that BJ wrote Bridget's speech and gave it to Magnolia, I was wrecked during that whole entire interaction. Absolutely wrecked. It was so good. Jessa's words, it's just,
her husband must be so lucky.
I'm such a fan of her. I fangirl hardcore over her.
Same.
Okay. Who is your guys' favorite couple? Because there's quite a few. We've got Magnolia and BJ. We've got Henry and Tara. We've got Tiller and... Or is it Tiller and... no, is it Tiller and Tara?
No. It's... her... I can't think of her name. Who she originally thought cheated.
I know, but I can't remember her name. Anyway, Tiller and her. And then we've got Daisy and Christian. And then I guess we can throw in Julian and Magnolia. Or we could also say Julian and Tom. Justice for Tom. Poor guy.
Tom. I have a feeling after the next book, I'm going to say Christian and Daisy.
Me too.
Because I feel like they're going to end up together. Don't we think? But
I think she's going to rip her heart out.
I think she's going to do something. I've heard a rumor that she said she's going to kill someone.
Yeah. I feel like she's going to do something.
What if she kills Julian and he never gets his happily ever after?
I will be so
I could see her doing that. I could see her doing that.
I could see her doing it too.
He sacrifices himself for Daisy so that she can have her happily ever after with Christian.
No.
We're all crying.
I think if anyone's going to die, it's going to be who is Daisy currently with.
No, Romeo?
I think he might die.
But part of me, I mean, I'm fine with that because I don't really have any attachment to him.
I don't know. I'm just trying to be optimistic because I don't.
A part of me like wants to be
wrecked.
completely wrecked, but then also I don't want to be wrecked. I want all those three to be happy.
I'd say regardless, I think Daisy and Christian, no matter their ending, will maybe be one of my favorite couples because the high stakes, forbidden love. I also just really, maybe it's, I don't know if it's just his voice or what, but there's just something about Christian and I really can't put my finger exactly on what it is.
It was a sex tape, wasn't it?
Yes. No.
It was.
There's just something about him that I really love. And there's something about Daisy that I really love.
I think the maturity is just there with Christian. Mm-hmm. I know he does some stupid stuff, but I think emotional maturity, like he just thinks things through a little bit better than I think BJ does.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
And so I think that's just to me more attractive, you know.
Oh yeah.
About him. And yeah.
He's also a very selfless guy.
Yeah.
Out of all the characters, Julian, I don't know. There's something about how selfless he is too that I really love. Yeah. There was something else I was going to say and I just slipped my brain. So
yeah, I think they are the best couple.
I love them. I'm obsessed. But they're currently not together.
The entire book, I just kept thinking something is going on in the Hates house.
Mm-hmm. I know. I don't want to know why.
There's something.
Because of that stupid, when Magnolia Parks went over there and they made such a big deal about her being there, like, you cannot go there. I was like, what is going on? What's going on?
Things are going to go down. In the next book.
It's going to be wild.
Because there's something going on with Christian and Daisy with their relationship, obviously. Something big goes down. But then you also have Julian and his little heartbreak that is going on.
I can't wait to get the car scene from his perspective. The maybe in another lifetime. Or you're it for me.
Heartbreaking.
You're it for me. That's why I think she might kill him off. Gemma agrees.
She's upset about it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very happy for Magnolia and BJ, but scoot aside.
Jessa, we need to know when the next book comes. We need it.
I think the reason, not only is this book like it's so poetic, the series, sorry. I think what really did this for me is that there are so many things in my life that haven't been able to describe to somebody. Like, I feel like I've personally experienced great love, great loss. And I feel like the only way I would be able to explain how I've ever felt is through things that Jessa has said. Obviously, her words are not mine, but there were so many times that she would write something and I was like, that's exactly how I feel, or that's exactly how I felt. And I haven't been able to feel that to that certain of degree in a book ever. And so that's why I put this series on such a pedestal. So I feel like they're poetry books to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what makes this series what it is, because without, you take out her poetic writing and it just, I don't, like I said, I don't think I would have liked it as much. There's not a lot that goes on.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a little bit deceiving for how big it is, each book. Yeah. When you sit and think about what happened in the first book and then, you know, what happens in the second book, you're like, wow, I read all of that just to get this. But
sorry, I dropped my phone.
it's okay. I just ditto with you guys. I don't really have any other words to say.
I think the reason, because like you, I think the books are a little too long. I think you could cut out like 100 pages of each book, maybe even 200 of the Into the Dark. I love all of them. I take every page because I love it so much. But I think part of the reason, because when you sit and think about the Magnolia Park series, same girl, it is very long for the amount of stuff that happens. There's not a lot that goes on, but I think part of the reason why it is so long is so that Jessa could get you to fall in love with the characters to get to that ending.
Yeah.
Because you think about it and you're like, I love Henry. I love all these I loved all the side characters just as much as the main characters, sometimes even more. And without all those side conversations and those little things that happened, you just wouldn't have loved the characters so much.
Yeah, it would have taken away.
Yeah.
But they are a little long.
Yeah.
It's a little long.
Yeah.
An 800 page or 700 page fiction romance is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Let's talk about our fan cast real quick.
yeah, I don't really have anything that I'm like, this needs to happen. I don't know.
I have one that's a little bit, this isn't my legit fan cast, but for some reason when they were all over TikTok for a while, what is her name? I just forgot.
Nara Smith.
Nara and Lucky Smith. For some reason, they came on my TikTok and I thought that is Magnolia and BJ for some reason. Not really, but kind of. And then I couldn't get it out of my brain. I don't know why.
Them in a few years.
Maybe. But there is actually on mycast.io, if you guys have ever seen that website, there is a really good casting for both Magnolia and Bridget. The fan cast for Magnolia is a girl named Dina Denor. She's legitimately just some influencer. But
She's got like the look. Oh, yeah. She's got the look.
yeah, for Magnolia. And then the other one for Bridget is Whitney Peak. They look like sisters. Look at them side by side.
Okay.
Wow.
I see it.
I see.
Yeah.
Stunning.
I think they're just famous influencers. They're not actors.
Yeah.
But we're going purely on looks here.
You know what? Maybe I'll put a poll on our Spotify. Or not poll, a question. I'll do a few questions and have them say who they would cast as certain characters.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like
I had a hard time picturing that.
Yeah, me too.
If you go on Jessa's Instagram, it's either Jessa's Instagram or the Magnolia Park's Instagram. They did an AI. They had AI basically create the characters. Nothing what I pictured.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to me because with how beautiful her writing is, you think that she would almost, we'd be able to understand what they look like a little bit more than we do. But
I feel like she's kind of vague with her descriptions.
yeah.
Like facial, like features.
The only thing is Magnolia has those eyes.
They have very pinched eyes. That's like the one thing with this series.
And long legs.
The amount of times I wish I had it on my Kindle that I could just search how many times it said the word pinched, eyes pinched. And maybe it's because I was just listening to it, but I'd be like, their eyes pinched a lot. Series. But
it has been picked up for a TV series.
I can't wait.
I'm interested to
nervous.
see
I'm
how
nervous
that
too.
goes. I just don't know how you take what's special, which is Jessa's writing, and put it in a TV show.
I think it's just going to be reality trash.
It's gonna be like a British version of Gossip Girl.
I would kind of hope though that it has some like the inner dialogue that we get in the audiobooks. Kind of, you know.
Yeah, it would be
Get their
curious
inner thoughts
how they
played on the screen.
it.
I would really like to see that because otherwise, you don't really get that element to it.
And I hope they do like Magnolia and Daisy at the same time.
I bet they will.
I bet they will too. Because that would just be a lot.
I almost wonder if they do it like episodes.
Ooh, maybe.
You know, so like the first episode's like a chunk of the first book, and then you kind of get. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know
like
if they
one's
would
more
do that.
focused on Magnolia.
Well, then what do you do when they're in the same combo? Like when they're together?
I feel like we just kind of be like, I don't know.
I feel like they're just gonna intermix it.
Yeah.
I think they will.
Because I think the first set, so I see it, they introduced Magnolia, they introduced BJ, the Christian, they introduced Daisy.
Opening scene. These legs walking down the sidewalk.
Honestly, though,
Hands up to Magnolia Parks.
Shopping bags. Actually, no,
Bags,
her
yeah.
assistant behind her has the shopping bags. And then she
Oh.
passes BJ. Doesn't even give him a look.
Ooh, you guys, I'm so sorry. This is such a random tangent. There's people on TikTok that say they want a novella to be Magnolia and BJ together when they're at school.
ooh,
I don't know if I would care.
I wouldn't care. You know how I feel about novellas that happen like before,
yeah,
and I've already like read it.
yeah.
I
I don't think it's necessary at all
I don't think she would
because
do it.
I think
they already go
she
so deep
captured.
into
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I feel like
Sorry, that was such a tangent.
No, you're good.
No.
Back to fan casts.
Let's just.
Do you guys?
I don't either. They are just really hard characters to pick because they have a certain look about them. Because obviously, all of these characters have to be freaking hot. All of these characters have to have a look of like high society, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're just hard characters to pinpoint and have that kind of look and act that way. But I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts and like if there's like a certain actor or model influencer. I feel like there's a lot of influencers that I feel like I could see, but I'm like, I have no idea who you are. I've never seen you act in your life. And so how are you going to like translate that over to, you know, acting when you just look the part? Because it goes hand in hand. You have to act well and then you have to look the part. So
I think they'll have to cast a whole bunch of no-name people.
yeah, which I think would be really fun
I think so too.
if they're good. Do well, please, for me. All right. Do you guys have anything else to add?
my baby says we gotta be done. The YouTube is like, what is Reggie doing on the side of the screen?
She's caring for a child.
Yeah, she had to join the party today, but yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed this Magnolia Park. Did I say that right? Yeah, Magnolia Park. I don't know. It sounds so weird. Parks series review. We're very anxious for the next book. We're excited to hear when Jessa announces, and we'll definitely probably be doing an episode on it. You know we will. So, and I'll also put the questions for if you guys see a certain actor or character. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.